Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning trading session. The market's just opened up, and let's see what kind of mess we've got going this morning. For those of you who are new to the room, welcome. What you're looking at is the diversified trading system, and the way I have my chart set up is I have the Hawk Scalper here in the top left, the Falcon Swing Trader top right, Eagle Trend Trader bottom left, and then I have the Raptor, which is a combination of all the three birds on the bottom right. On this particular monitor, I'm watching the NASDAQ, that's the NQ, and on my other one, I've got an eye on soybeans and crude oil. But I would be happy to take a look at any market that's of interest to you. So, as I said, we've just had the opening bell. Seems like a little bit of a soft opening for the market relative to how it has been opening anyway. Let's take a look at what's been going on in the overnight. A big gap down to start the Globex session. And then into the London Open, it looks like we had a little bit of a rally. Let's see, it almost looks like we're making a bit of a trend line bounce here somewhere. Oh, actually below the trend line, look at that. So the NQ a touch on the bearish side out of the open, even though most of the overnight was a little bit bullish, mildly bullish. Pretty much taking over where we left off the week before. And we have been getting, it looks like, some pretty strong moves out of the open. All right, what I'm going to do, here was our first micro-macro cross signal on the Hawk, which developed just as the market was opening. Looks like that one had some pretty decent follow-through to it. Not to worry, I'm pretty sure that won't be the last signal we're going to see today. Okay, well, while we wait for the dust to settle there, crude oil. Let's take a look at crude oil. Crude oil had a late filter entry signal. This is the Falcon. Late filter entry signal right here. Nice thing about the late filter entry signal, it's a very high probability signal and fairly easy to identify. Your trend line does not change color. Your filter does. When everything comes back into sync and you generate a sell signal, that's usually a pretty high probability signal. You can see we're trading right back down here to our median line in our support and resistance lines. And look at how well the market has been respecting our support and resistance lines. Holding off the resistance, finding support on the median line. Oh, look at this, finding support on the primary support. So we're pretty much, well, we're kind of range bound here also, actually. Might be working on a trend change signal to the upside. I'm not getting overly excited about it. Oops. All right, let's put that away for a moment. Ooh, I shouldn't have looked away. I was waiting for a 4-arrow consolidation here in the NQ, and we just got it. 1, 2, 3, 4 arrows. I thought I was going to have time to come back for that. might be working into another 4-arrow consolidation. Let's take a long-term view here of the eagle, and it looks like we're back on Friday's lows. Yeah, looks like it. Looks like we're seeing a little bit of a reaction off of Friday's lows. Obviously, we haven't had a test of the extreme here yet, so it would be great to see one of those. The test of the extreme, of course, is just that simple pattern that we look for before we get a reversal. So when we see a market come down like this, before it tops out and heads the other way, we know it needs to test this high. This is something that the market will do 99 times out of 100. So it's something that you should be on the lookout for. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the market to retest this high and then fail and head lower. So we're looking for this leg right here, and it won't be tradable on the eagle, but it might be tradable on the hawk and falcon. And then if we do get this leg and we do get the market failing, then of course we can sell with greater confidence. All right, I'm hearing a few more signals. Oh, here's the Raptor is giving us a signal. And it's the same idea. We want to be on the lookout for this test of the extreme. Unfortunately, it's one of these things that's going to be easier to tell in hindsight. However, we know that our lows are here. This is where the buyers are coming in. We have buyers coming in here. So if I were to sell, I would want to sell below these lows. Or if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive on it, you could sell below these lows here. Because this too shows that we've got some buying support. So if it fails at this point now, there is a chance that it will head a little lower. Now notice the blue dots here are right on my entry. Trade Manager will recognize that these dots, these are my stop loss dots, are on the wrong side, but I'm going to turn them off just for the moment. Oh, and I'm going to increase my profit target a little bit. I forgot to do that. I'm going to turn those off just for the moment because it's very rare, but occasionally what happens is the market will come down here, it will trip the order, it will fidget back and forth just enough to fool the computer, and you will get stopped out shortly after you fill your order. Now normally the profit or loss is not so much that you need to worry about it. It would be a tick or two profit or loss, so it's not a deal breaker. But what is annoying is that you may have stopped yourself out of a perfectly good trade. So if your entry is very close to your stop loss order, you may want to disengage it just for a moment until you see that Trade Manager has moved it to the other side, and now you see it automatically puts a stop in for you. And I'm going to dial that back just above the high. And we're getting some more buying here. So if we had entered below these lows, we would not be short just yet. But it looks like it might be a seller's market today. So there's a possible soft edge bounce or first trend change signal, however you want to see this on the Raptor. All right, so here comes the Eagle now with its trend change signal. Again, the thing that gives me pause here is that we haven't really seen that test of the extreme. So I would do a couple of things. I would probably dial down my risk amount for starters. I would wait for a second push on the entry, which is what we're seeing right now. We know the low that the sellers are prepared to make, and I would try to leave my stop a little bit further back. So the early selling has softened somewhat. And here on the Raptor, I don't want it to roll my stop just yet. So I'm going to put my stop back there and I'm going to disengage it just for the moment. I want it to respect these highs because I know this is where the sellers are, right? There's active selling going on right here. With the Raptor too, as with the Eagle, you could also use the hard edge of the band if you wanted, because we know that a lot of times the market will make a retracement into the hard edge of the band. So that's also a great spot to hide your stop above. But either one of those should be suitable, either the hard edge of the band or the swing high here. We should expect to see the buyers come back. Remember, your stop loss order is only there to protect your capital. It is there to get you out of a trade that is not behaving the way it should. It is not there to maintain some sort of risk-reward ratio or anything of that nature. So you need to decide where the line in the sand is. You need to decide where it is you're going to say, okay, I was wrong about this trade. This is where I'm going to get out. And that's where you're going to place your stop loss. So if you decide that a really tight stop loss is going to be enough to tell you that you were wrong about the trade, then by all means go with that. But for me, I usually go for a significant swing point, like we have right here, or perhaps the hard edge. See, we've got another significant swing point right here. This is very encouraging for me now, so I'll activate my stops. I'll make them active. Because in my mind now, if the buyers recover the market from right here and rally it above this high, then I'm pretty sure I'm on the wrong side of the trade. See, here come the buyers again. We really need to see the sellers push through the buyers right now. And it's the same is true here of our Eagle trade. We could see a substantial sell-off if they get below this low. We'll see them push some of the sellers out of the way, or pardon me, the buyers. All right, well, we'll let them sort things out. First micro-macro cross here in the Hawk also. We'll just set that up real quick and I'll explain it to you. Now the first micro-macro cross, I know you're saying, well, Eric, the micro lines and macro lines didn't cross. How can this be a first micro-macro cross? Anytime you see everything go out of sync, our bar colors changed, our trend lines changed, our filter has changed, everything goes out of sync and then comes back into sync, then when it generates a signal, that's our first micro-macro cross again. Now this one, we do have a runner in play. We only took a couple of positions, and I set my initial stop higher. At the moment, I'm letting the trade manager take my stop, but I might dial it back just a little bit. Again, for the same reasons. I want to, if this market reverses, I don't want to be taken out early. I want to be taken out of an area where I know the market has truly reversed direction, overrun the buyers or the sellers. And I was a little bit late on the entry here. If I had taken the entry on the hash mark, we would have already hit our first high probability profit target. So a little something to keep in mind. The more you postpone your entry, the more you're going to make the market work to hit your profit objective. And in fact, I could even roll above the high where I initially set my stop, just to give the trade a little bit more staying power. Once again, this is a pretty significant swing. If the market fails here, then I'm probably going to want to be out. But you can see the advantage of taking your entry a little bit earlier. I was just about to change it and try to roll it up a little bit tighter when we got engaged. Because we would have obviously already been in a profit position. All right, so here we are. We've gotten our swing. We're getting a bunch of yellow bars, so this market is getting a little bit more confused direction-wise. This move that we're working on right now, very important. If this move fails, then we're going to either see some more sideways action or we're going to see a run at the highs. All right, again, all these yellow bars, not very encouraging. Oh, looks like, did we get, oh, we found our profit objective here on our Raptor trade. Yes, we did. Good for us. Okay, looks like our Hawk trade could use a little bit more management. Once again, we're coming back with another first micro-macro cross. So we'll see if this engages, we should be in good shape. Currently, we're just getting the warning dots. We don't have the complete signal just yet. And while we're waiting for that, let's take a look here at crude oil, which is generating a bunch of late filter entry signals with very little follow-through. That's quite unusual. As I've mentioned, that is a relatively strong signal. You can see that the market's making its way toward the trend line here. So we're generating sell signals. Currently, we're working on a green warning dot. We'll see if we come back with yet another sell signal. I would be interested in shorting this, but probably below these lows. Okay, so we're working now into a green bar sell on the Hawk. We know that trend-wise, these tend to develop toward the end of the trend. So we'll see what becomes of that green bar sell. Once it trips the green bar sell, if it trips lower, I'll probably roll my stop in above the high of this swing. And soybeans, I've been neglecting soybeans a little bit lately, but here are soybeans out of the open, not a whole lot, but here's a failed green bar sell, and we're getting a first micro-macro cross to the upside. Now this is a difficult trade to take because do you see all the yellow bars? Do you see how everything is broken up? There's no real defined trend here. And besides, we haven't, well, I suppose you could call this down here your test of the extreme. Unfortunately, we're not going to know until the market makes its move from here whether this is the test of the extreme here or if in actual fact we're going to see the market try to test the extreme from here. So what do you do? This is a signal. What do you do? Well, first off, you need to protect yourself. If you're ever unsure, first thing you should do is dial down your risk amount, right, in case you get stuck on the wrong side of the trade. The other thing you could do is you can wait for a second push on the entry. So you can let the signal engage, and you can wait and see the limit that the market is prepared to make. If it's not truly ready to move, it's only going to go up a bar or two, not too far, and then it will start to reverse on itself. And that will be valuable for you because you'll be able to see the current limit of the market. And then the last thing you can do is you can run as deep a stop as possible. Normally, I go toward the macro line. That gives me a pretty good notion of where the market might retrace to. And soybeans, one of these markets that I do tend to double the profit objective. Technically, the profit objective here on the soybean market for the hawk is only 4 ticks. And I suppose I should dial that up to 8 ticks to make it a true double target, which I believe we have reached. Yeah, we just hit our high probability profit target. But if beans are truly changing direction here, we should see a macro pullback signal, maybe a 4-arrow consolidation. We should still have an opportunity to take a trade here. They're just into the hard edge on the eagle right now, so I would expect some sort of reaction to that. Okay, so now we're getting our first micro-macro cross signal here in the NQ. And you can see when we were looking here, this is odd because, well, we were starting to get a bunch of yellow bars. But the first micro-macro cross signal, normally has a very high probability of success. Well, I suppose this one did work out, didn't it? It actually hit its high probability target. I was just late on the entry. I was going to say when it fails, you can be more confident that the market is truly reversing. So we might see a little burst to the upside here. We'll see how they react to this whole 42, 57, 58 area. Still kind of neutral for the moment. A little quiet for the most part. Hoping to see a little bit of a reaction here. This is our last ditch effort on this trade. It is a little encouraging that the first micro-macro cross is taking its time following through, but we are building into a macro pullback or 4-arrow consolidation, which I also know to be strong signals. So we're far from out of the woods on this trade. Okay. Peter asks a question. Since it looks quiet, how long have you had your support and resistance service up and running? Well, thank you, Peter, for this opportunity of a little bit of shameless self-promotion. I've been online with my support and resistance service for 12 years now. It'll be 13 years in the summer. And what Peter is referring to is the support and resistance site, which is supportandresistance.com, and I will show you that in just a moment. And we're about to get blitzed here on our stops. They're going to make another run. So here's the supportandresistance.com website. And you can learn a little bit. We're always upgrading this. You can learn more about support and resistance. There's the big weekend edition, which you can sign up for, which gives you recommended trades and gives you progress of trades that are currently underway. And then we also have the nightly updates. And those look like this, where we give you trade recommendations depending on what the markets are doing. I try to alert you to things that are starting to look promising. And then, of course, our trade summaries at the end. So that's that's the support and resistance service. And if you're interested in that, then by all means head over to the supportandresistance.com website. And if you have any questions, you can email me at eric@supportandresistance.com. Okay, things have sparked a little bit. We did get stopped on our NASDAQ short on our first micro-macro cross, which I'm a little bit disappointed on. Not disappointed that I got stopped, but disappointed that I wasn't tighter on my entry. I entered down here. I should have, at the very least, entered here, and that would have enabled me to reach the profit objective and perhaps be a little bit more aggressive with my stop. As it was, I left myself shy of the profit target, and that caused me to try to be a little bit more conservative with the stop. So that will be a note that I'm going to make in my trading journal. And look at this, it may have just been one of those things where we just got stopped prematurely. Coming back here on the Eagle with a hard edge bounce and a green bar sell. I might take our ATR line into account here. That's this red and blue squiggly line. Currently it's saying that the market is a little bit more on the bullish side, so I probably would want to enter below there. Covering above the high is probably the best place to run your exit stop. Sometimes what I'll do too is in my journal I'll make notes of if the first trade I tried was a loser, all of a sudden I'll pay more attention to the opposite side of the trade. So in this case, if I tried to sell, we tried to sell here, the trade did not work out, right? We got stopped over here somewhere. That might make me more keen to take a buy. Now, at the moment, it's still a little bit of a toss-up because technically the first micro-macro cross on the hawk did work out. That was more my fault. That wasn't the tool's fault. And technically, this trade only got stopped because my stops rolled. If I still had my initial stop, I would still be short. So not changing my mind about the direction just yet. We'll revisit that in just a moment. First, I'm going to answer David's question. David asks, Eric, when price action is slower and volume is less, such as overnight or pre-market, are the signals still as reliable? Yes, they are, David. They're just going to develop slower. And they're going to take longer to fill or fulfill their profit objectives and so on. But yes, you can still trust them. So if say you're watching the hawk and you're trading the overnight, here is still a first micro-macro cross, and you can see we still have good follow-through. This is still a macro pullback signal. We still have good follow-through. Here's a first micro-macro cross to the downside, and it looks like it just reached our high probability target before it reversed and went the other way. But look at how much longer it takes to fulfill this signal versus what we would do during regular trading hours. It looks as though this one started at 136, and here we'll set it up so that we know. So we take it there, sell it there, 136, and it 141. Okay, it's not bad. 5 minutes to reach our profit objective. But sometimes this will drag out a little bit. So rather than 5 minutes, you may have to wait 15 minutes. But it looks like last night was fairly brisk. Good question. Very good question. Okay, well, they are looking a little bit stronger at the moment. But they're also still sorting themselves out. Remember what I said about that test to the extreme? Well, it looks like that's what we're getting now. This is our test to the extreme. Is that enough for the market to head lower, or are we going to see it head lower and test the extreme here and then head higher? See, this is the puzzle that we're faced with right now. So here's the hard edge bounce. We know when the market encounters the hard edge of the eagle, we should see some sort of reaction. Same is true for the raptor. This is how you can use your tools together as well. The raptor band starting to break up a little bit. And you know, if you're ever confused, if you ever can't make heads or tails of what the market is doing, just wait. There's nothing wrong with waiting. A missed trade is better than a lost trade, at least in my books. I'd rather miss a trade than lose money on a trade any day of the week. Okay, you guys, if you excuse me for just one moment, I am going to be right back. What did I miss? Oh, not too much. It looks like the Hawk did manage to rally off of the first micro-macro cross. Interesting. Okay, we'll see how this plays out. We're right back near the lows from last week, or from Friday, I should say. Those were around the 42.60 area. Where are you? Right there. That's what I'm looking for. So we're getting a little bit of premature reaction to that, maybe. All right, well, they're not too terribly committed one way or the other just yet. I have a feeling we're going to wait them out for a couple of minutes here, and then we may have something tradable. Peter says the support and resistance lines are really drawing the lines in the sand, and yes, they are. You know, folks, I'm quite proud of these. There's a whole lot of math going on here, let me tell you. But what a lot of people fail to appreciate with these, and I'm not saying this to boast, but these lines are predictive, right? They're predicting where the market is going to find support and resistance based on what's happened in the last few days. It actually looks back into the chart and finds price activity, calculates where the market might react as a result. And it amazes me sometimes how well they actually work. This one fudged a little bit, but you go back in your charts and you're going to see that sometimes it turns right on a dime after encountering the lines. And like I said, I'm not saying that to boast, but rather that when you're looking at these things, you can trust them. Like right now, we're below the median line. We're bouncing off of primary support, which is significant. The median line, the primary resistance, which is the blue line above, and the primary support tend to be the three most important lines out of your support and resistance assortment, only because they'll set the bias, not because of anything else, but because this is kind of where the market needs to make a decision from. The fact that we are below the median line, we're struggling with the primary support, does make the market a lot more bearish. If we stay below the primary support, then we can expect that the market will probably move two zones. So if it fails here, we could anticipate a move maybe down here to 42.35. At the very least 42.45. Pardon me. James is asking, is this a separate indicator at Indicator Warehouse? Yes, it is. And oops, sorry. Let's get this over here. I can get you that information. If you follow that link, you'll be able to see the different add-ons available. Yes, Jim. Ultimate Support and Resistance Suite is what generates these lines. Okay, we are working on a sell signal now, or again. Working on a first micro-macro cross to the downside. We did get our hard edge bounce on the eagle and the green bar sell. Working on a possible trend change signal here in the Falcon. Okay, here's the first micro-macro cross. Let's see if I can't get on this one. Come on, get over there. I'm going to risk it to the macro line, to the hump in the macro line. And I'm taking advantage of a second push on this entry. Because there is see all these yellow bars here? There's a very real possibility that this could turn into a macro pullback. Okay, we're printing a warning dot here on the Falcon also. Oh, trying to print a warning dot on the Falcon also. Okay, and they're fading from that. James is asking, can you put YM on the Raptor with the S&R indicator? I've got the Raptor. Sure. Just a moment. Let me build you another chart. That's going to be easiest, I think. See what I mean about building into a macro pullback signal? Yeah, there we are. Well, more yellow bars. Not what I want to see. I don't like yellow bars. It shows too much sideways action, too much choppiness. Okay, Jim, here's the YM on the Raptor with the support and resistance suite. Kind of showing us the same kind of thing. We're mildly bearish because we're below the median line, but we're also above the primary support. All right, so the first blue line above is primary resistance, first blue line below is primary support. The significance of the median line is simply that it falls in the middle of your assortment. You've actually got 21 different support and resistance areas here. And I think last year, at the end of last year, when the NQ was going crazy, it actually blew through, or the better part of all the lines, and I think once crude oil went through all the lines. But it's extremely rare to run out of lines. With 10 lines above and 10 lines below, it takes a lot. So some people like to use the support and resistance lines as profit targets. Some like to use them to confirm signals. So for instance here, we had our trend change signal. It occurred below primary support. You could have used the 174.90 area as a profit-taking target. Came up a little bit short there, but you would have at least had an opportunity to adjust your stops somewhat. Here was a bounce off of the primary support. You can see it went back to the median line for a little bit of a scalp, which we don't usually do on the Raptor, but there's an opportunity. ready for now. Ay, come on. Let's see a little bit of follow through. Well, we're coming up on 7:30. Sometimes that tends to shake things up. The bottom of the hour, that would be 10:30 in the east. Here, I might as well take this opportunity to point this out. Even though I say I never trade yellow bars, a 4-arrow consolidation will be a signal I would take off of a yellow bar. So if I wasn't currently short from down here, this is a signal that I would take, even though it was a yellow bar. We have our 1, 2, 3, 4-arrow consolidation. Let's see if it's going to make a liar out of me now, or if it's actually going to have some follow through. See, we would have been short from 43.75, give or take. We need 42.25, and I think we were just kissing that. Yeah. No, sorry. What did I say? 43. We need 40. We need 51.25 for our profit target. Oh, James is saying the DAX is gaining some strength. That could trickle over here into the stock indices. We are up against a significant resistance level here around this 42.60 line. We saw quite a bit of activity around 42.60 in the NQ during Friday's session. It's also the hard edge on our Eagle and our Hawk, or pardon me, Raptor. I got too many names to remember. Okay, we're going to see a failure here in the moment. We do have a trend change signal on the Falcon now. And again, this isn't the best looking signal, so rather than going for the full pop, you might want to dial down your risk amount for starters. And I would probably enter above the highs, above this little swing high. And why would I do that? Well, because I know that's where the buyers are actively, where the sellers are actively protecting their position. But the trend line has changed color. It has our little characteristic up, down, up pattern. If you're paying attention to the support and resistance suite, we are above the primary support. So we could see a bounce back here to the median line. But most importantly, what we're doing is we're protecting our risk exposure, right? For $150, it's not a deal breaker. If it comes around. You can tell it's a tough market too when you get too many conflicting signals. You know, like we're looking not only bunch of yellow bars here on the hawk, but we're getting sell signals off of the hawk, possible buy signals off of the falcon. Raptor and eagle are still bearish. This market is all out of sync. So when you see that happen, you don't need to be chasing the market all around. And you'll know what if you're chasing the market because it's going to feel exactly like that. You buy, the market goes lower. You sell, the market goes higher. You're just chasing your tail. Some days it's okay not to trade too. Remember, this isn't like a normal job where you go in, you do your time, you get paid. No, no, no. This is nothing like a normal job. Here you only get paid for being right. You don't get paid for doing. You only get paid when you are right. Okay, so now we're getting a trend change signal to the downside here on the Falcon. So I'm going to scrub that. It's an early trend change signal, which is the more aggressive version. Nice thing about taking the early signal is it's usually fairly easy to know where to place your stop, right? Because this setup is fairly tight. I know that if I enter down here and get stopped out up here, I'm definitely on the wrong side of this trade. And we could even draw a little trend line like this if you wanted to postpone your entry until the other side of this trend line. That would be a little bit safer. Also, because of course we might see some active buying going on here. In fact, I fully expect it. But once again, we're protecting ourselves by managing our risk exposure. I hate to tell you, but you will have losing trades as a trader. If you're attempting to trade for a living, there will be times that you will be wrong, you will make the wrong decision, you will lose some money. That's why it is very important that you don't ever risk more than you can afford to lose. Muy importante. Nuts, they're going to make a run at the high again. Doggone it. All right. I have a bad feeling we're about to get spanked on the Hawk trade, but we're going to come back with a trade here on the Falcon. So we've got our warning dots. I know it's going to print up here. I can plan to enter above the high. So this is the reaction to this trend line support. Yes, it came in a little bit early, but it will do that. Buyers are going to get a little bit anxious. If it takes out this high, it's a pretty good looking trade. In fact, so much so that I may dial it up to the usual risk amount. And if they don't give me any follow through on this, I will be very annoyed. So now we're seeing the early trend change signal to the upside. And the only difference between the early trend change signal and the regular trend change signal, we still have our up patterns and down patterns, but the signal prints just as the trend line is starting to change color. It's a far more aggressive signal, but the fact that we're holding support here and challenging the highs again, I'm hoping for more than just a one tick trend. I'm hoping that if in fact they do break the highs here, we're going to see a little bit more follow through. And I should be trying to manage my hawk trade a little bit more aggressively. Maybe we'll go with the bar high low, we'll go 2 ticks off, and we'll keep it 2 bars back. All right, last chance for the sellers here in the NQ on my books. If they fail here, then it's probably time to leave. So I've gone with the more aggressive bar high low stop strategy. It will roll my stops tick for tick, or pardon me, bar for bar, as the market moves lower, if in fact it does move lower. And the sellers are going to have to step on the gas in a serious way here if they're going to pull this off. Come on, you. All right. What a mess this morning. Just, like I said, far too many yellow bars. We're more likely to see something develop either late this morning or possibly this afternoon. Yep. Well, we figured as much. All right. Took a little slip on this too. Doggone it. Okay, so we're flushing out a few of the sellers now, looking to test these highs. We'll see if we get any follow through out of them now. There you go. Come on, get going. Okay, we're getting a rule of 3 break here in the Eagle, and it looks as though we have had a test of the extreme. Now, a lot of times with the rule of 3, as with any counter trend signal, you don't need to take it as a counter trend trade. You know, by definition, counter trend trades are a lot riskier than with trend trades. Let's see, where are the highs? It looks like we're sitting something like this. Just going to shoot a trend line here to see where everything is falling more or less. A lot of times you can use these just as an early warning signal. But again, if you're liking the signal, if you think it's worth a try, the rule of 3 is a valid counter trend signal. Dial down your risk amount. Manage the trade as deep as you can. Keep your stops as far away back as you can. Okay, I'm going to have to dial up the risk a little bit in order to make that happen if I want to go below the lows. Delay your entry a little bit so you get a second push on the entry. You know, all these types of things will help protect your position. Now, unfortunately, the Raptor doesn't have a counter trend version of that Eagle trade, or at least not one that I've spotted just yet. If anybody has been working with the Raptor and has found a reasonable counter trend signal, I would love to hear about it. See, what makes this morning so difficult too is that a lot of what we're seeing may just be a test of this high, Remember, we were talking about tests of the extreme, right? That's the high there. The market has come down. This may well be just a test of this high. We might well see a failure here and the market start to head lower again. That's why it's been so difficult. That's why the market's been so choppy. James, you're a brave soul. James says he uses the time and sales with a tick count. Have your eyes gone cross-eyed yet? I introduced Adam to time and sales, and Adam, if you guys haven't already figured it out on your own from dealing with Adam, he's a touch OCD. And so he would watch the time and sales go by, and the poor fellow, I think it drove him crazy, or almost drove him crazy. All right, for those of you who don't know what time and sales are, this is your time and sales. You can get this from your control panel on your Ninja. So you go to your control panel, you go here under File and New, and you pull down to Time and Sales. And what that's going to do for you is, you're going to get one of these little boxes. If you right-click on the box, you can add your instrument. So we'll do the NQ. And you can see the sales go by. You can see the bid and the ask. So you can see who's asking more, the buyers or the sellers. Sometimes these things will get terribly lopsided, and that the idea is that it gives you some momentum. You probably saw that block flash by there. I forget what the block alert is currently set at. Go here to your properties. It's going to bring up a window like this. And here you have block alert size. So whenever somebody trades more than 10 or 10 lot or larger, you're going to get a block alert. And all that shows you is that maybe somebody with a lot of buying or selling clout is going to come in. What surprises a lot of people when they look at the time and sales for the first time is how many onesie-twosie traders there are. Look at this. Look at the sales that are going through here. The vast majority are singles. They're just pikers. They're just little guys. See, there's a couple of 2 lots going through. But these are not huge commercial interests placing their orders in the NQ right now. Oh, Jim says he just sets up the block sales only. He doesn't watch these little things. He says you'll go crazy, which you will. You'll go crazy watching this little stuff. Oh, see, there's an order of 9 that just went through. I wonder why that person didn't go in for the full 10. Usually, if you can afford 9, you can afford 10. I bet you it's a superstition thing. Traders are very superstitious. Okay, good little run up here on the NQ. Now that they've actually settled on a direction. So we hit our profit objective here on the Falcon, and I hope you can see why that was a better probability trade than some of the other things that we were chasing around this morning. You know, we saw the market attempt to head lower, no follow through, attempt to head higher, no follow through, attempt to head lower again, failed, and failed very close to the trend line. Not that that's significant in it of itself, but you know there's going to be people watching trend lines. You know there's trend line traders. You saw the orders going through, right? They're onesie-twosie traders. Don't doubt for a moment that the onesie-twosie guys are following trend lines very closely, following fib levels very closely. And they don't have any staying power, right? So when these people who sold here, all the onesie-twosie traders who sold here, and all of a sudden the market starts to trade higher off of this swing low, well, guess what? Their stops are probably very tight, and they're probably anxious to exit, and then we got our nice little run up. Also got, the other thing was the signal was supported by our primary support, and look at where it ran to. It ran to our first resistance line, and when primary support holds, we can usually anticipate a two-zone move, so don't be surprised if we see it come up here to 42.74. Now, I don't normally get into the business of forecasting price. I tend to try to react to what the market is doing. But even so, sometimes you can't help but try to guess where the market will go to next. Phil is asking, how do you set up the block sales on time and sales? Oh, Phil, I have a feeling you and Adam would get along real well. It's going to be here in your properties. So you pull up your time and sales window, you pull up your properties, you get your block alert size. Oh, size filter, probably right down here. Trades less than the filter size value are filtered out. So you would set your block size right there. So you'll only see if we set that at 10. Let me go back to the NQ. We're only going to see orders of 10 or larger come through. And for the NQ, that might be a little bit too big. We're probably not going to see anything, so maybe set that to 5. And you can play with this, of course, right? So there's a 5 on the buy side. There's a 10 block, all on the buy side. Oh, there's a 20. 20 and a 15. So there's a few people with some clout. Remember, folks, though, there are no magic bullets. Right? If that helps you make a decision, then by all means, use it. But if you start watching time and sales and you just get totally confused about whether you're going to buy or sell or what you're going to do yourselves a favor and put it away. You really don't need it. Honestly, I wouldn't lie to you. Too many people put far too much stuff on their charts, and then they can't make heads nor tails out of what's going on. Oh, interesting. Uh, James says I've got Adam's tape speed with my volume. You can see areas of interest like at 1045 and 1049 on the NQ. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting, Jim. Like I said, if it helps you make a decision, then fantastic. You should use it or keep using it. Well, they're slowing down again, but they're trying. Yeah, Jim says it's more for confirmation than anything else, and that's great. Well, crude oil too, just moving sideways. Soybeans moving sideways. Seems to be a theme today. Our trade here on the NQ Eagle, certainly far enough along that I would probably take this to break even, and even a trade that, you know, you might want to consider popping out with profit, especially if it looks like the market's getting any slower. And I'm going to enable my stops also, I think. Oh, let's get that back to break even. I'm already long the Eagle here. Otherwise, I might have considered the buy signal that we're getting here on the Falcon, and I would expect it to get up here to the 42.74 area. Now, you know, once again, by default I'm on the full amount here, but let's see if I can dial down the risk a little bit and get in there before it moves. Trend change signal here in crude oil on the Falcon, where we're looking at a trend change to the downside, and notice that we have all this support down here. So this is probably a trade, rather than take it right on the hash mark, I might feel a little better about taking it below the support area. These swing lows is what I'm referring to, because once again, this is where the buyers are, right? I know there's buyers here. I know there's buyers here. I know there's buyers here. And I can see from this current bar that there's still buying going on here. So if it fails at this level, well, guess what? It's probably going to head a little bit lower. Jim says, good luck with that long. The YM is lagging. And oh no, did they slip us? No, they didn't slip us. Not yet anyways. James says he just uses the time in sales, the blocks, to try to get a feel for where the momentum lies, so he can stay on the side of that momentum. Okay, things are getting a little bit quiet. Again, we've hit our profit objective here on the Eagle. A little bit of an early reaction here to the trend line. And we're pretty much back to where we started the day too. Well, a little bit higher. I started the day right about here. We're marginally higher than where we began. Lots of hesitation today. This little run up that we just had here on the NQ, that may well have been the best trade all morning, or the highest probability looking trade all morning. This is a little bit more of a Hail Mary type trade, where I'm just looking to get up to this next resistance area. But this was a trade that I would be very comfortable with, waiting for that one to develop. So for those of you who are football fans, this would be more your Seattle Seahawks type trade, and this would be more your New England Patriots type trade. I'm waiting for somebody to write something. There's a fellow in Boston who is one of our members, and he's a big-time Patriots fan. And, of course, I'm on the West Coast here, and we root for the Seahawks. They're the closest thing we have in Canada to an NFL team. And so he and I have been trading jabs over the last week or so. Okay, our crude oil trade getting a little bit of traction. You see these bars with these wicks on here? If I see this bar turn green now, I'm probably going to get a little bit more aggressive with my stop. Maybe get it down to break even. The problem with the green bars, if you get one green bar, you're probably going to get two. Ideally, we'll get this type of setup here where we get one green bar, we get a red bar come back with a long tail, or pardon me, a long wick, and that will give me a great opportunity to get that stop in above an area that I can be relatively confident that if the market fails, then it's truly reversing. But right now it looks like the crude oil market may be in a little bit of a slow slide lower, but I'll keep an eye on that. Well, we're seeing a lot of sideways action. If you're trading this afternoon, I think we might see the stock indices make another push lower from here. I fully expect the NQ to get up to around 42.74, 72, 73, 74 before possibly turning around and trying to recapture the low again. But I think we're going to see a lot of sideways stuff today. I don't think we're going to see any major moves one way or the other. Now, of course, the last time I said that, the market fell off the map in the afternoon session, but I don't know. It's just been too hesitant today to really do much. Crude oil, well, what can you say about crude oil? The trend is down, so I think I would be inclined to look for selling opportunities. Soybeans have put in a little bit of a rally, but still sideways for the most part. Very uncommitted also. All right, you guys, I'm going to close down the room just a little bit early. I'm supposed to meet a friend at 9 o'clock, so I want to get ready by the time he gets here. And yeah, I'll see you guys again tomorrow morning. But be careful out there. Today is not a user-friendly trading day. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.